Hello, my trusty little friends of YouTube. Maybe we could get ourselves a little bit of a view back there. You never know, you might see some kind of a character getting his face a little bit too much into light that we'll be able to pick up. In many of these cases, you use a system of magnifying of some sort. I have a magnifying glass that I show people lots of times. Type that I can put right on my screen, and I can see into the back there very well, and then you look into the shadow, the dark shadows, and just observe. I like the one on the right side. So when I look a visual behind the pole. Oh no. Actually, I'm going to turn it a little bit more. I just need to have a little bit more right. There we go. Don't want to lose all that other spot there, but I just kind of that corner going on right in there. It's kind of it's a pretty healthy spot for them to, feel free back in there, because that's what they do. Is they've been hiding forever. Oh darn, sorry man. I don't like to have the camera going up too high because it will. That's kind of alright. There we go. It can shadow out, or it can brighten up the screen too much and make it so you don't see very well. But I was just doing some music, and there's another, I'm sure you've probably heard, but a number of days back there was a helicopter crash out in Hawaii there, and they're still looking for the seventh person. I had heard about it a couple of times, and I seen a little whatever of it thumbnail there, so I decided to go on and look at it again, because I wanted to see if they were showing the crash site or anything like that. But they didn't show it, but they did say there was a crash site. So it got me going on what I want to do here, and what I want to press to people in big ways is, humans, I want you to just realize how we can be. We almost teach our kids fairy tales of lovely things to help them kind of guide their own mind. And as they get older, we decide when to start breaking in the reality of the world. Some kids probably never hear that a person actually dies from being a human being. There's some kids out there that are be kept so far from it, maybe don't learn about it until they're into double digits, that death even is an issue. And some of you can probably relate like that. There's a couple of people out there that happens. Anyways, so it kind of goes to show that guy is gonna be famous. A lot through people and their comments with me and stuff. Personally, I've been around a lot of people that claim they have psychic powers. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think there's so many people out there that do. Okay? So I don't believe every person that tells me. To me, I like facts. I like to be able to see that they are presenting. There's the famous guy. Oh, I'm missing the close-up of his face. Dang it. Should I help him out? I think he's lost. What you looking for? What you looking for?
Just for clinic, open clinic.
Open cleaning for like laundromat?
No. What I mean, medical clinic.
Dry, huh?
Medical clinic.
Oh, medical cleaning. Yeah. Oh, okay. Head up to the hospital.
Where?
Oh, clinic.
Yeah,
just go to the hospital. The walk-in's pretty quick there. So just go around this corner here.
Yep.
And yeah, the next set of lights, you're going to turn the right and just follow it around. You'll come right in front of the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, so right there, go. Yeah, the first right.
Okay. Yeah.
At the Starbucks.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. No problem.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Take care of that. That's ugly looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugly.
Yeah.
Take care, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Almost looks like his ankle's so swollen and stuff. He's got a bad sprain and he's walking around on it. So what I want to say there, where was I? So a lot of us can be influenced by people who kind of talk about fairy tale life in the forest. When you look in the forest and you realize you cannot survive in the forest because that is a harsh life, realize that they actually are surviving. There's no fairy tale. There's not easy food coming to them. There's not easy life coming to them. It's a life that we can't live. You can't live the life of a deer, an elephant, an ant eater, a raccoon, or a Bigfoot, or these other beings that may or may not be part of the Bigfoot tribe. You know, we get this cozy stuff to survive in. And look at all these people on paths right now. We're still living the same way. We still love to do paths. We still love to go places. You know, we're sharing them with kind of another cousin in a way who also enjoys paths and enjoys going places, enjoys work. Start walking up to the bark on a tree. See those real mossy trees right there in front of you, obviously in this parking lot. The car just drove in front of it. The lower tree right there. Covered in moss. And so far away from any other trees. Our science doesn't understand how many of those mosses get onto those trees. I've listened to the science on this. I'm telling you guys so many factual things that I'm not trying to be first. I'm not telling you in a hyper voice of I'm excited first. I'm telling you with compassion so you start to spread the word. Not necessarily go out there and do your own study, because to get as deep as I am, I promise you, I've been in it for over 3 years and I've come up with hundreds of different things. And to just listen to my hundreds of different things will help you on your practicalness a lot more when you go out into the field. Like that moss part there. You can go out there and just study many different kinds of mosses on trees. And you'll see in the shopping malls, the average tree is infected with 3, maybe 4, maybe even more mosses. You can start going and studying your branch trees and realizing that a branch from a tree really isn't into growing a branch, then a branch off of that tree, and then growing the tree, growing a branch off of that branch, growing a branch off of that branch, growing a branch off that branch, and growing a branch off of that branch. They're going into 6 and 7 systems of this ridiculous amount of growth before the tree is even coming to a mature state where it's really growing out its cord branches, its real cord DNA branches that tree was born to grow. That's why our science goes, well, it must have somehow in its DNA now to carry the moss genetics, because we don't know how the moss gets on the trees, and we haven't found it in the seeds of the trees yet, but we're telling you this is one of our guesses. That's almost exactly what I have heard a scientist say. And look at the people who leave the channel, come by and listen to the channel. Everybody's so much into just looking for this being. And hello out there, Centennious. Is that what it is? You are only talking to me, and yeah, I'm talking to everybody though. Only me and you watching. That's cool. You know, other people come. Like you're a novice there. You're saying that I think you're kind of coming. I don't recognize your name. So you're coming along, and maybe you've heard a little bit about me, or maybe just because it's fluke, I happen to be live. But I'm going to give us a better view now. I just wanted to kind of to shy into the view a bit. Oh, let me adjust this one instead. Okay. Yeah, maybe like that. I'm gonna do my window down more here in a second. Stop it from turning. All in there because I want to talk about those houses. Because if you watched any of my night videos, okay, now I'm gonna back you up, land down that window. There we go. I think I almost got you guys. Push this down so it doesn't wiggle. I actually want to turn a little bit more that way, don't I? Or is that not turning? Oh, that's the wrong turn, sorry. Gee whiz, yeah. Thank you. There we go. Had everything on kind of lock and I didn't realize it. Blah, blah, blah. There you go. So now I'm going to be able to point down and see right now I'm looking, when I'm doing this, you guys don't, I'm going to teach you a bit of the art, okay? You guys don't realize this, but there's actually pavement right here that my eyes get to see, okay? But no reality, we're looking in that background, which is about here and stuff. Okay? But with my optical illusion, guys, guess what I'm looking at? I'm looking at my stuff. I'm not looking at what I'm teaching you about. So there's my hint of the day for the people who like to stick around, like to stick a little bit longer in my videos. Don't think it's easy. Don't think just anybody can do it. Be wise. You know, you're not just going to run around and look at grizzly bears. But if you dumped gunpowder all over yourself and you went around looking for grizzly bears, there's a good chance they're going to stay away from you because they can smell you. And most grizzly bears, I would imagine, get a certain amount of understanding, maybe even through DNA of that smell now, because it's been such a long history of going on. Well, realize that these guys are also going to have their education about gunpowder. So if you turned around and actually just dumped gunpowder all over yourself, and in no way, and then went out there and no way ever gave an indication that you're actually carrying a gun, say you're not carrying a gun, you never pulled out your gun, never had a gun holster, never any sign of you. So in other words, you pull over beside the forest there, decide you're going to go do your walk, they see you pouring the gunpowder on you for some kind of a weird safety mechanism. They're not going to be so intimidated now to come close to you. Like, that's where we're going with intelligence. Everybody says, oh, they're such an intelligent being. Yeah, they're such an intelligent being, but they're a different intelligent than us, and they're a different intelligent than the dolphins. They're a different intelligent than the elephants, and what other kind of really intelligent beings out there? Snake. Snake only has a couple of things to think about. You think about how intelligent he is. And housefly. Try this little test with a housefly. You got this pesky housefly coming around and stuff like that, right? Just start putting your hand out there. Maybe to an extent where he lands on your hand. Maybe he lands on your counter and just bring your hand a little bit closer to him and watch. You'll see him kind of turn towards and maybe take a different look at you. Move your hand a little bit closer. A little bit closer. Eventually he will play on your hand and you can move your hand around. That's a housefly. Another thing with a housefly is, say he comes at you about 3 times in a row, try to swat at him. Say you're lousy aim or not fast enough and you can't hit him. Swat at the fly a few times and see if you can at all after 3 swats the average housefly will fly away. He'll give you a break and he comes back after a bit. I don't know if you've ever tested those kind of beings, but Everything has different answers, and that's where my weirdness kind of comes into it. And it's been a lot of part of my success, though. With connecting here and stuff is kind of the weirdness you hear me talking sometimes. It's the principle that I use. I want to get a low spot up the road there. See that dark spot right in the corner there now, the right bottom corner, right down there. And then there's a little bit more right up there or something on the right corner down there. I just want that spot for you guys to be able to see there a bit. Let's try to stop shaking. Let's try and balance this thing for a moment instead of setting it up. Dang it. I just don't know if I can see the phone vibrating the weird way I'm holding it here, and I don't know if it's shaking for you. But any of that darkness, you see that nice where it's actually shadowed? They'll really appreciate that spot now in the middle there. So we get to actually see the shadowing from the sun on that one part of the tree, and then it does like a dip way back in there, and then it's coming, the other part of the tree is coming into the sun. Here, I'll do the old trick of pointing down again. So, yeah, right there. And yeah, you see this part right there that I just covered up has sun on it, and so it's actually giving real shadow. So they like that, and they start to take advantage of things in these areas. So what you do is you start to concentrate on those types of shadows. You see the darker ones where you can count, like, let me just, off the top of my head, it looks like there's 3 there, 2 there, and 1 there. So perfect. A triangular shape and with 3, 2, and 1. Then you go off and you do whatever you're doing, and you're walking all over here, and you're doing whatever you're doing over here, and so you're dancing on the top of this car. You guys know I'm joking around, right? They really like this corner over here and stuff. See, that focus is coming in well. And so you come in there and you make a count for these. You figure out systems of wherever things are going and how you think all that shadow base is working and stuff. And then you come back over here. And then maybe you don't set up your camera in the same spot, because remember I was pointing in such a way that, they start to use their wits, and they start to trying to really figure out, what the heck is this dude doing now? Like that. And they'll have eyes down here that are giving information to the eyes in this line. How? I don't know. We're going to find that out. And this is part of how we're learning to find it out. Oh, awesome. Doing this. Oh, I was so tempted to get a couple of puppies on camera there this morning, because I'm right by, hello. I'm right by a place for a clinic for animals. So lots of people have their dogs right here and stuff. So this one guy was here, and 2 little puppies, man, were they ever beautiful. I was having a lot of fun with them. I went over there, I couldn't resist and not go visit him. And he's the type of guy that lives on the road. He's got his camper. And it's like a 1-ton truck where you can't even tell it's a camper. Cube van. So like I said, then you come back to those, and as the time changes, say you sit here for a couple of hours, that's when you're going to be able to get to see some really good change in the advancement of shadow. There are many tales in there. Don't just, because like right now we're in a pretty, like our sun isn't where we are in British Columbia. You kind of can see how it's all, it actually is shining up this area through here, but right here it's all shadow. So we're actually in shade. You see the difference from the brightness to the darkness and stuff? It's not that different. Yeah, I guess actually right there we can see a really good line of shadowness and non-shadow. So my point is, there's obviously tones of depth of shadows and stuff. And then sometimes when you're doing your stuff, say you got your camera looking way over this way, you're blah blah blah, and you're pointing out to the forest there and stuff like that. Really spending a lot of attention. Say you spent a whole say 30 minutes on that shadow above the buildings back there. Okay, you actually force yourself to sit here, just watch them, whatever. But you kept the rest of the stuff in your camera or whatever type thing, or you didn't keep it all in your camera and you come back to what you wanted to pick up. Those are, see, most of us don't do that. Most of us have to be going, oh, do you see something there? 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 You know, if you're getting to a point of ever thinking that there's a lot, if you bring yourself to the point that I'm trying to guide people to do, you're going to have way more successes on realizing you see a lot of shadow changes and you understand shadows now a lot more than maybe you even thought was ever possible. I don't even know if people really understand that there's actual language in shadows. I try to teach people the language of the trees and the actual process of what I see trees should be going through in their nature, in this whole nature thing. And I explain the process of what I see these guys, how they're actually farmers of the trees, how they're pruning them. I've shown in the past out on Vancouver Island where I just happened to you guys, I really think they've been working here, whatever, and sitting around doing something, and next thing you know, I'm lifting up chunks of ground that had been just recently toiled up and some kind of rooting going on and different things like that, and then that ground put back down over top of the toiling, or whatever you call that, where you toiled it or tilled it, and you know, maybe you were you know, the collecting different words there of farm collecting, you know, like, sorry, I end up turning my neck a lot this way, and this is the bad direction for me, and it just makes my neck really sore, so I'm kind of complaining right now a little bit with trying to straighten out my neck and stuff. So guys, I'm going to read and see where we're at. Cool. So what do we got in the house? We got Centaurus. Oh, that's okay, cool. Did you just haven't been around? Oh yeah, you've been around lots of times. I'm sorry if I said you hadn't been around much. Jim Burns. Hello, Jim. The bomber. Oh, the bomber is a lady. Good thing she told us. Alas, right on. Good to see you got a good sense of humor there too, bomber. Sorry, honey. No worries, honey. Have you seen something here? And do you ever walk in those woods? Yes, you can actually, like I'm trying to explain to people, I don't know if you're still around or if you're listening, they're actually in there. I explain stuff on a level that nobody else is explaining them. Those woods right there, there are some trails up by that little pile of rock. Right there, there's a trail you can cut in right in there to do it. You know, kind of do my thing, and you know, I kind of live in a spot with these guys. That's, if you happen to follow at all, what's his name, the Bigfoot Colorado, or Colorado Bigfoot, whatever, but Mark, I believe it is. You know, if you happen to watch that guy or listen to that guy or anything like that, I find myself to be much more successful with him with the closeness I'm able to obtain and actually have obtained. And not to say he hasn't gotten really close shots and so on and so forth. Not saying that at all. Or I'm not saying he hasn't gotten closer than me. But I get to do closeness all the time. I get to have curiosity out of them all the time. He doesn't know that he even camps near them. I know that where I camp, more come. So it kind of tells you there's going to be a lot in the difference of our opinion. And I'm honest, like that's the real opinion that I have. It's not like I'm trying to insult the man. He does work and he does good work. But he is he does it different. One of the things he does different is he carries a gun. I don't carry a gun. I'm in no area where I can even carry a gun. I would be allowed to have a rifle, a long gun in my vehicle and such like that. But if the cops knew I had the long gun in here and stuff like that, it would be a pain. Plus, I'm actually not even licensed. I don't bother to license. A gun is not for me. I'm not into it. I've shot guns lots of times. I have had my practical fun with guns. I did some little bit of hunting when I was young with guns, stuff like that. I had my fun with guns. I'm okay not having a gun. I'm okay with just carrying a knife. I show a manly existence for myself with my knife. Not to say that these guys don't laugh at us. I don't know. Maybe they do have an intimidation, so a knife in your hand is an actual intimidation to them, where they think, well, I could get caught. I want to get caught. So who knows what they actually are thinking there, right? And at the second thing is just showing that stature of proudness, strongness, even though, ouch, ooh, I got a prickle, whatever type thing like that. It is what it is, but at the same time, just as best as you can, trying to show that you're there, you're strong, you're confident. If you act too wimpy and stuff, maybe that's when they get a cat coming out. Or a black bear coming out to give you a hard time or something like that. So there's lots of way my mind thinks. Look at that. You see, are you guys starting to notice some of the darkness out there? Those dark shadows are getting darker, and we still get to see the shadow on that tree that I described earlier. So if you've been with me the whole time, you get to hear it. But if you didn't, you can go back and watch it, and it's basically that line right in the middle of the shadow. You see there's a dip in the tree line, and that creates the shadow, because the sun is coming from our left and creating that shadow. And if you look at the roadway there, compared to like our drive here, because our drive is more in a shadow because of the building that we got on the left here is giving a shadow. Trying to teach people to understand shadows tell us a lot of information. I'm trying to get you to commit to my channel. I want people to start subscribing. I'm not even at 5,000 yet. I was hanging around at, what was it, 4,900, no, whatever, 4,300 or something like that for a long time. I'm coming up to 5,000 anyways, and yeah, I'd appreciate the help to get me there, because I have a feeling that a 5,000 number YouTube must look at me a little bit different once again. I don't know, maybe it's too soon to guess that. At 10,000, I know they'd be looking at me different. And it's a study channel. It's a tough channel. But I tell you the truth, man, if you go back and you can study my last 3 years, you get to know the person. You get to realize that my research hasn't been changing. I've always been following the same format. My attitude's changed a little bit, but I've been going through 7 years of an injury, plus 5 years of an injury so it happened, another part of an injury that happened 2 years after that. And yeah, they haven't healed even fully to how much they're only going to heal my injuries. I'm waiting for the big 7 years on the 5-year one. So I got 2 more years of the type of healing I'm going through. One of these guys who stick highly to the 7-year system of understanding, like my birthdays are more, I look at them every 7 years instead of, a birthday, obviously I look at it every year, whatever, but that's just, there's no information with it. There's only a birthday. But if you actually look at start to study the 7 year practicality of life, whatever you want to call it, then I broke into that thinking with the red and white blood cells rejuvenation. And I just started thinking deeper into it and realized that, up until 7 years old, we kind of categorize kids. Up until 14, we do. And then there's puberty there then too. Within ranges, right, guys? We got to be practical on it. And then 21 too. Look at we started letting kids do things at 19 to 21. And by 21, they're fully kind of on their own. And then even in the certain brain mentality world, our science believes that the number 25, there's still certain activity going on in the brain up until around there, which is getting close to 28 years. For certain things going on. And if you actually just follow it in a 7 years increment, look at old family members 7 years ago, and then look at them again on the 7 year. When you look at the 7 year patterns, you really get to see information if you're into it. And so, other words, I've had some major injuries a couple of times. Like one time, my leg, I completely smashed my leg. My left leg, where the surgeon said I will be on a cane for the rest of my life. He left the medical room. I was kind of on my own. I almost started crying. I think I might have actually started crying. Because I was horsing around, so I was mad at myself for being so stupid and really referring to it as I had crippled myself and, what did I get myself into and stuff. Well, right away, the next day, I'm laying in bed and I started making my phone calls for keeping my business going. And just a monster came out of me of, no, I'm not going to put up with that. And I really went into my 7 year theory and healing that leg. And now I'm at, I might be double sevens. I might be at 14 years or something. I'd have to just kind of look at the years a bit there, but never been on a cane. I was on the crutches and all that kind of stuff. I kind of did some cane work instead of crutches, but crutches are more comfortable if you're really at that level. And when I got all healed up enough to drop the crutches, I did. Went on walking. And here I am still without a cane. And part of the reason is because I had to do that traction stuff for a week laying there in the bed where the doctor, that surgeon also gave me great information. He also told me that you're the only one that can keep this thing mobile. If you don't right now start mobilizing it, then it's going to seize up on you and blah, blah, whatever. And so for that point, for 7 years, and even to this day, but still through those 7 years, I would push my leg to as straight as I could get it, even through pain and stuff. It was a really tough thing to do. But the very first day, they hooked up string and stuff, put me up in this thing, and where I could do this thing. And all I was doing was keeping the shape of my knee. Because my knee was so exploded, he put in 5 screws, did different things in there and stuff. But he couldn't hold it all as a package. I had to grow my package again around my knee. And yeah. And him telling me all that, and me just getting inside my knee and realizing, holy shit, I can see what you're saying. And yeah, I bought into it. Shaped my knee in that hospital, just would do that thing where it was my leg is just going up and down. My calf part of my leg, and it's just shaping my tibia plateau, because that's what I broke off. I broke off, say, my left knee, broken enough where the surgeon, he said when he first started cutting it open and stuff, he thought he was going to maybe have to decide if he was going to have to amputate my leg or not, or how far of a repair he could go into it, because he actually thought it was going to be more exploded when he first started opening up, I guess. And then he realized, yes, I can save this knee, and that means he gets to save his leg, and life went on from there. And oh, we got a little bag flying by there. Oh, there he is up there. Yeah, so there's a testimony of pretty good hardship. My first week, I was at a job site. As soon as I was out of the hospital, a week, 2 weeks, I was at a job site where I had a guy running it for me, or it was just starting up, actually, I should say. So it started up when I was out of the hospital, obviously. And anyway, so I had this guy. It wasn't a big project, and he had to do a certain amount of digging there. Next thing, he was a laborer, brand new laborer guy, right? Next thing you know, I'm on my 2 crutches. Next thing you know, I'm dropping my right crutch, trying to swing a shovel with just one hand to teach the kid a proper technique of digging. And then dropping my then I dropped my, my left-handed crutch, which is my very important crutch. And showed the kid a few digging techniques and hung around for another 15 minutes or something like that. Went home and my knee was the size of a balloon, and yeah, it's all a learning lesson. So you guys happy with this picture? Magnifiers, understanders? Yeah, back in there's a big hangout in there. A big, big, big hangout. These guys are, they're everywhere. And I can tell you things that they do right in these parking lots. You know, the way we understand wear and tear on our paint, on our asphalt, on our curbs, on our light standards, on those moss on the tree over there, on all how those trees all look. How when you go to a heavy area of these beans, you'll know because the leaves come down at a different rate than the ones where maybe the clans have to travel a little bit to go in there and do their farming. The leaves would get pruned off at a different rate, because I'm not a believer that all that fall that is coming out of these trees, like right here, all that fall of leaf fall that is coming out, I am not a believer that it's just necessarily the weather. It's teamwork. Would the weather completely do it? I guess so. But I don't buy it. Because I've studied a lot of those trees now. If you're sitting here day after day just coming to see those trees, coming to see those shadows, coming to see the night shadows, to see the glowing that I got a couple of videos up where what you guys do. I'm parked in the wrong spot right now to get this light standard for you guys. But on that other video, I'm parked over this way. I'm not fingering you. Anyways, I use that finger lots of times as my pointer finger. I think it's a prettier finger. Anyways, that light standard gives you a height for these buildings here and so on and so forth. And what you get to notice from the glows that we pick up, and I talk about the 3 glows and stuff, and how the brighter one on the left is a newer glow. It just popped in either that night, maybe the night before, but I'm sure they just lit it up. That's why I was excited to give you guys a video, because I thought, right on, they're giving me more glows. But anyway, so somewhere in this range they give 1 amber, somewhere in this range they give 1 amber, and somewhere in this range they were given the glow. Well, I was here last night. Battery's almost dead here. I was here last night, and sorry, let me just get this plugged in here. And it was kind of funny because they were giving me a different light show. And when they give you a different light show, it's really nice because it is so awesome for you just to be able to, like, every day when you're doing my work, every day it's rewarding once you get some kind of a notification that, I don't know, I guess that I'm sane, Because you think about it, man. You go, I got a lot of people against me. And it doesn't mean they're against me. It means they're scared. It means they have a tough time with the story. It's their life. Yeah, let me go like this. No battery. I got you plugged in, though. Make sure that thing's charging still. Yeah. Oh, the thing. You guys might be cutting out on me. You can only carry a knife. Let me get. Whoops. There we go. I can only carry. There we go. That's right. And take out your knife once in a while, and you kind of sharpen a stick if you like. If we use our tool, we know how to handle it better. You know what I do? Is I do a lot of, because of the life I live, out there digging in dirt a lot and doing different things like this. I get a lot of crap under my nails, so that's what I use to clean my nails, is my different knives. And the reason why I do it is my hand control on the knives. So my bare skin is, I'm in a real concentrated state, especially when I first started doing it, until you get comfortable, and then you don't have to necessarily have your eyes on your knife all the time. Got a little bit more of an understanding of the proximity of where it is. It's really more finger understood orientated. Instead, before I was just a guy that had knives. I'm a tool guy, so I do have an advantage of taking or handling tools sometimes, because I've handled so many tools, so tools feel very comfortable in my hand. Knife feels comfortable, but to actually play around with the knife is a little bit different than, just pulling it out to sharpen my pencil at work. Right on. That's the way to do it. That's right, Bomber. Just the exact same as me. Sometimes, and I've only been coming into that stuff more and more since I've been doing this little project. I don't know if you've gone back and watched any of my stuff, but go back and watch my first face-to-face encounter. It's my most viewed. It's only at 146,000, and yeah, it should be, what do you call it when it's just out there and it just goes viral? Is that authentic? It's that awesome. Is it the best? It's not as good as Patty, but it's awesome. It's different than Patty. In fact, I think they may be different than Patty. No battery again. Okay, maybe I'll drop this. I know what I'll do. Just doing an adjustment, guys. I'm moving it and stuff. I'm pulling the cord too tight. There we go. Is that nice, or should I just dip it down a little bit for a little bit lesser of a shadow or something? Let me know. If I went up any more upwards, it would brighten it out too much. This might be a nice contrast of difference in the lights, the shadow to the brightness. So that's what you want to do, is you want to give yourself some different, you want to have some movement in your camera a little bit. Excuse me. Say if you're the type of person that sets up on a tripod or whatever, at least just then do this once in a while. Do it like, change it like that, change it like this, maybe go up a little bit, maybe down a little bit and stuff. Maybe go there and just act like you're always about the birds. If you're a person that's fearful to go into the bush, don't go into the bush at all. Set your camera up if you're into videotaping, which is always is a good thought, because of lots of reasons. But anyway, so yeah, park yourself by a nice forest like this, where you're at the park. You can park your car right there. You can set up your camera however you want, and it gives you something to study at home later, to think about, compare. Because once people start, because a lot of people do that, is they start to get ideas how to do it, and they're actually doing their own work out there and getting success, and that success helps them the realness of it differently than they may have known it before. And I'm happy with that as a researcher, but as a researcher that knows as much as what I'm trying to tell everybody on the practical sense of these things is we need to know a whole bunch more. And I keep saying government does not know this stuff because they would 100% just come to my door. They would 100% just want to talk to me. They would 100% just steal me. They would 100% have me murdered. They would 100% have me abducted. They would 100% have me picked up. They would 100% have me arrested. They would 100% put me in an office somewhere to have a conversation about it. But we're not doing that. All these light shows that are going on everywhere, a lot of them, huge around the world. These beings have a connection. Are they about all the different light shows? I do not know that, and I'm not trying to contest that at all. But I'm trying to tell you that they do have a glowing energy, and they really can, let's call it, separate it from their body. So me, if I have a flashlight and I shine it on that, let's see this. What you see in one of those buildings back there, the peak, and I'm shining the flashlight on a peak back there. If I put my hand in between the flashlight and the beam on the roof, it'll disappear. I believe these guys have beyond that ability somehow. So, and I believe I've 100% seen it in action. I've explained it a few times on my channel. 100%. Oh, I got to tell the doozy again and I mentioned it last night on the live, in the very beginning of the live, and it happened just before I went live last night. And that's the reason why I threw it out there, is because I didn't want to have a mind hiccup and forget all about it. So, just before I was deciding to go live, they started to do some rock clapping. That rock clapping, the way sometimes I've heard it with different size rocks and stuff. I can get a relation where I believe it could be connected to what people are referring to as sonic booms. Not maybe the super sonic boom, don't know. But I know how I hear it. I can see how people can relate that. Maybe they've heard it louder, maybe they were closer to it than the proximity to that I'm hearing and stuff like that. So they got a little bit more feeling out of it or something. But I tell you, I think that can be related to the sonic boom sound. So last night, I'm sitting there, you can go watch the video, and I hear some hefty sounds of it. So I didn't want to jump right into my camera because I wanted them to try to feel comfortable with it. Anyways, then after a little bit, just before I was about to turn on the camera, I heard this super weird noise. And I think it was also putting out almost, because I have a couple of hearing conditions. I got hyperacusis and a tinnitus. And so sometimes, let's say if there was, I get really good vibrations and different feelings, and that's part of what hyperacusis can do to you, and tinnitus can do it maybe to some extent, but it's mostly through the hyperacusis, because what a hyperacusis is doing is it's registering the noise and it's kind of amplifying it for some reason. It's got that kind of a distortion going on for me. The tinnitus or tinnitus has a different kind of and it's an alarm system. So it's alarming me through squealing noises. This is Whether that's still the science behind tinnitus or not, but that's what a lot of the science is understanding it is that, it's trying to alarm you that something's wrong. You get out of the theater, you get out of the loud noise. After a while, that calms down and stuff and goes away. Kind of it's based on something like that. Anyways, my tinnitus is like, I always refer to it as, severe, and my hyperacusis, I refer to it as severe, 24/7, both of them, and at high limits. So anyways, in some ways, I figure it gives me a shoe in with these guys in different ways. With the, sometimes I fail on hearing, sometimes I have actually better feeling in the hearing, stuff like that, than on average, because most of us are just these average things, and these guys test us out, and they figure us out and stuff. They don't do a lot of predicting of how we're going to behave. They know how we're going to behave, and they like to know that. So anyways, what did I do there? Straighten my neck a bit here. Back into the sound there. I'm sorry, I just got lost there. Make myself a drink and stuff and see if that pops back into my head in a moment. Oh yeah, so last night there. So, I described it on the video, and I haven't re-listened to it yet, so I look forward to re-listening to it. It's almost like, I felt, almost like it was like a televised radar gun. I give it visualness when I was hearing it. Just in my mind. And I think I was able to pick up on it in feeling a bit, but I'm not going there. But almost in my mind, it's almost, that shape in our, when you go for Wi-Fi, and you turn on the Wi-Fi, and then it kind of gives you that outward going shape thing. Like geez, that Mustang, eh? I guess you didn't know that, but that was a Mustang. But anyways, so let's just say it's a half moon, a half circle. The semicircle is heading towards me, and it's got lines through it. For whatever reason, I visualized it like that. It was only based on what I was kind of seeing, you guys. It's not based so much on there was some kind of visual. That was my imagination, trying to take on more information so I could define it, I guess. So radar gun-ish, these are kind of things that I know I pick up from TV and stuff, those couple of things. But I knew it was their sound. I knew it was coming from them. I knew it came from nothing else. The first one, so it happened twice. The first one was maybe almost half the like half the volume of the second one. But when that happened and stuff, and it went on, because I've been popping here in my thought a little bit and stuff, because, when you're on YouTube, different news things can't come up, and I watch the news, and I've been, in the last year, I've probably gone highest I've ever, probably watched the most news I've ever watched in my existence, in my 53 years. And a lot of it is just what's going on in the world. Crazy people, crazy weather, crazy light storms, crazy stories, different things like that. Lots of other stuff too, where, I get into different university talks and stuff, and you try to see where all the smart minds are with things and like that. Well, where I went last night when that went on, those couple of things went on, was I went to these airplane accidents that have been seeming like there's a whole bunch lately. And that's why I threw up just since 2015, Hawaii has had, um, what was it? I can't remember, but like 17 helicopter crashes. And I think that's in the tourism business. Maybe all of them were in the tourism business. And then they're showing the scenery there of the Hawaiian Islands, which is just majestic. And I remember when I even heard the rumors, some people said, a couple of years back there that Hawaii didn't even have any sightings ever of any Bigfoot or anything, or any forest creatures or anything like that. And I thought to myself, that's hogwash. With the trees that they got going on there and stuff, I remember I was already clicking into that can't be right. But I remember thinking about it, if it was really right. I might have even at some point there tried to believe it. But where I've come with trees and stuff, there's no way I would ever believe it. And so I think about that energy throw that they did at me last night. Like, I know it was, like, I hear about these guys, that's another thought that came to me when it happened, was these guys, different guys that talk about themselves being buzzed and stuff. I wonder if they're actually just picking up on that different energy of, like me talking right now, I'm actually, with my voice, putting out a buzzing feeling. Because of my voice box, how the air is involved, how I'm forcing it out of my chest. However, they're simple to put out buzzing. So do these guys just feel these outward energy? These guys just bugging them and going zzz, and you can kind of, what's that tingling? I can feel the air movement, or it's like it's vibrating into my body or something. Is it on that level? Is it some kind of a mental thing they're actually getting inside their brain somehow? I don't know. But I tried to connect with it at times, but I've never fully connected with it. Last night was a pretty clear, weird connection with something going on there. But like I said to you guys, I really tried to understand it in different ways there. And I knew it was really happening because I could hear it. And I knew it was unconnected to any of the vehicles or anything because of where I was parked and stuff. It never happened again on the live video. They didn't do it again. I believe that they did make that noise phenomenon. And I question if certain energy flows that they're toying with they can fault computers. They can fault something that is using certain waves of energy. Like, so in other words, let's just go with a helicopter, and you think that everything that is wired is going to be wired. It's going to be pretty solid. But is there anything that has to be transmitted without wiring, and it's through the electrical waves, the different wave format? And so can these guys, with their wave pattern, have they figured out how to mix in with that? That would be worth a thought for a moment, and maybe it's over already for the smart guys. And then another thing came to mind too, because I believe these guys are actually behind a lot of the UFO phenomenon out there. I believe that there's sometimes when you hear these different stories, and I'll just kind of describe a story, whether it's right on to a T or not. Let's just use our imagination a little bit. Turn my neck a bit. And so, back in the day, in the 70s, you hear stories of a car full of like 4 guys, and they're driving along up in the mountains somewhere, and they see a bright light or something. Their car breaks down, like it just powers right off somehow. There's a number of stories of guys claiming automobiles batteries from back in those days powered off? Like, how does that really happen? Or is the confusion of the bright light and them stopping to wonder what's going on and stuff, in amongst that confusion, did they maybe just have a recall that the car shut down and the guy's not really aware that he actually reached out and turned off his ignitions? But I believe I've heard stories of where they say their engine shut off and their light shut off. So we'll leave that as it is. But you can kind of see a connection of something being able to be shut off. One of the things, so yeah, that's pretty much good enough for the story part. We know, or you can dig into that, you guys, if you want, and you'll see there's related stories actually seeing vehicles of those days being able to be powered down maybe. But there's always the chance that maybe it was human error and they just don't recall doing it because they were so engulfed by the whiteness, the white light, you know. So I was going to say then also, yeah, so those planes, because it sounds like a few of the planes, those helicopters, like the one that just happened, there's an actual crash site. So that means that it didn't crash in the ocean, or else they would have been throwing that out somewhere in talk. And I hadn't the couple of times I listened, I only heard crash site, and only finding 6 bodies so far, 7. So that's kind of interesting that one body's not was gone. Anyways, the airplanes that I heard, the couple just recently, there's been some in Canada, some in the States, I think, and wherever else. Few number of smaller planes, and it sounds like maybe when they're on departure, when they're just going into flight, or getting close where they're above land and they're getting close to coming into land. Because obviously, with what I described happened last night on that video, if I all of a sudden I had my car running and I could zoom down the block there in a couple of seconds, I wouldn't be hearing that sound the same way. So there's a power behind whatever happened, and I kind of trying in a way relate this to an actual thing, first almost experience for me, where something so much seemed to be pushed towards me in a way, and it was in an energy form of some sort that I minimally could hear it, and it wasn't being done to distract me that it's that car driving down the road or that truck or anything. It was almost like it was, like I said, pushed towards me. And so the comment I was saying there about distance is irrelevance, land being over land mass might be irrelevance that we could heavily think about right now. So say if you're a plane pilot guy and you're at all worried about this, in your little Cessna or whatever, that because it's small, some smaller planes, that could be where it's being experimented with. Who knows? Who knows if I'm even at all correct? But I'm correct with telling you they have energy that they have introduced me to on a number of times in a number of different shapes and forms, I guess maybe we can say, and stuff, and maybe in a different matter form. So I've seen it worthwhile to put myself out there as this kind of a guy again. Just getting 4 viewers for the average through all this, guys? Because I know I get people appreciating me. I know I do that. And that's why I can't ever keep just walking away from this channel, because I know some people are clicking with it, and I know if you're clicking with it, I know that much more that it's really getting through. Like, there's real information that you're picking up on that. And I realize that there's a lot of people that hardly even listen to my words, I think. I think they, I don't know if they feel like they're being lectured, or if they think another know-it-all, or blah blah. There's lots of stuff that our culture's been teaching us for 10 years. Try to go on beyond the culture of the last 10 years. And like I've been telling my kids a lot right now, hanging out with the four of them and stuff a number of times. I said, I can remember being 19 years old, 20 years old, in that range, 24 years old, whatever, somewhere in that range, where you're right away in your mind, you're going, yeah, whatever, buddy, you think you know a lot of stuff, don't you? And you're just thinking this in your mind with a lot of different people. Or you're thinking, oh, Dad, it's just too heavy, I don't want to think about it. Or, no, I don't want to watch that show, that's a learning show. I'll just stand in here and do nothing and listen to my music for a while. And when we're going to watch the Deadbeat movie, I'll come in and watch the Deadbeat movie. And so what I've been explaining to my kids is I had that falseness of, Ian, learning's too heavy. But it's all bullshit. It's just as heavy as watching that movie or going for a walk and thinking about the birds, thinking about this, talking about your girlfriend, texting while you're doing it and stuff. It's all the same weight. So in that, I say to my kids, try a little bit harder to do some hard thinking things about the things you think are important in life. Like my daughters, yeah, you're not at all thinking about having babies or anything. But when you're walking by the magazine section and you see that cute little baby that catches your eye, pick it up and read that article for a few seconds. There's speed readers. Read it for a few seconds. Start already thinking about babies. But just don't put yourself in that you're in baby mode. Let that come when it's really coming. So I think a lot of people probably can relate with what I'm saying. And we have to influence the younger people to think. We have to influence the younger people that there's some freaking beings out here that are going to muck you guys up big time. We don't know how, we don't know when, but they're already starting to migrate. They're already starting to stick their faces out. There's changes going on that you kids just have to have it in the back of your mind that this generation of 35 to 60-year-old people are wrapped up in it pretty good, and they're doing some thinking. We're trying to get some smart university minds in here to do some thinking. I challenge people to go to my video of my first face-to-face video and to actually make it not true. Instead of with some stupid words that we all can say, every one of us can say stupid words. You write stupid words to me, but you cannot say, I went right to this point and I went to this point and I zoomed in exactly and broke down this or whatever. Yeah, I get frustrated. That's what it is. How's the shout out there, guys? With this time of change, like the evening coming in like this and stuff too, they have to make decisions if they want to move with this long of a shot. Or do you want to just keep sitting there and go through the different shade changes of the evening? The different shade changes that we've gone through in the last hour have made differences. Let me get that big tree again. It's an angle that works, I think. And the big shadow, when you go back in the video, if you go back in the video, it's kind of in the middle there. That would have been the shadow tree, yeah. And there's by the rock over there. So what you do if you're a computer person, you bring up the video a few different times, and you can do different times and have different pictures just up that you have it, up there where you just pause it on this spot, pause it on this spot, pause it on this spot. screenshots. There we go. Screenshots. We could do screenshots and other shots at different times, and you'll end up realizing that, where am I? Even like in these areas, even in here and stuff, like it's you just, am I saying 100% that there's some in there and there's some in there and there's some in there? I'm saying there's 100% chance that there could be right now. But one thing you get to know, you get to do is you get to watch shadow changes now. You get to really understand, whoever stuck around with me here. You get a good lesson on shadow changing. You don't get the commitment out there in the forest yourself, maybe. But maybe this will give you more of an understanding to make that commitment. You go to the playground with your kids, your grandkids. You set up your camera on the stool, on the bench beside you while you're sitting there watching the kids on the playground. You set up your camera right beside you, pointing the opposite direction, filming the bush near like this. And then when you get home later that day, you put it up on your computer and you educate yourself with your own work. Miss Reality, how are you? Let me see if I can see that again. First being I know, but I hear what you say, but also remember the mimicry. The mimicry, when you say these beings, you're maybe almost best to say mimicking beings. It was great. Thank you very much. Hung out with all four of my kids. It was really nice, because I wouldn't doubt it, in the next 2 Christmases there's a chance that they won't be all here. So I really enjoyed this one. All 4 of them and stuff, really focused in and realizing that, and they're all coming up with their journeys and stuff in life. Yeah, so in other words, mimicking looks. They do a lot of mimicking looks. They really do. I'm not saying there's not a whole host of something going on out there. I'm not going to try to say that I do know the full answers, that's for sure. How's that dark dark corner look there on the left, just above the buildings? That's a spot of enjoying, like that right there is kind of a spot. It's very secluded. If you went directly back from that dark corner on the left there, if you go directly back from there, you're kind of just walking deeper into that little valley. You're close to the depth of it. It does drop down there, but you're just in a valley where nobody would be bothering you. Nobody's even looking into there or anything like that. You were thinking the same thing? Oh, about the corner, I see. Yeah, I figured as much. Wish I could trust leave a camera here. Getting to the point where I gotta go to the Biffy. So I think I'm gonna have to, hey. They watch us, yeah. They really do. that a good spot there? Do you enjoy that angle? I like that tree. If you don't realize this, earlier I was talking about shadowing of that tree that's in the center there. And if you want, you later on go and kind of see the stages it's been going through then. Does anybody feel like running for a Tim Hortons for me? Get me of course I'm talking to you guys on YouTube. Give me a triple of steep tea. You guys have Tim Hortons growing up, I guess, in your country now. In the United States of America. Unless you thought I was in your country, the United States of America. Just so you know, you Americans are my favorite country. Like my brother, I've always, here in Canada, always had that kind of mentality feeling that United States is our brother. Nobody, I don't feel that connected with nobody else. Well, I'm in your country. From Miss Boomer. So Boomer, first time on the channel here? If you're not, then I apologize for not recognizing your name. But that's the way it works. See, I brought the camera back. See the dark color there? See above it? Was it kind of... Is that hot? Boomer must be doing that hot. So I'm wondering if that corner there, above it and stuff, is getting darker. See how it's kind of, what do we call it up above it? See, on my angle, I get a little bit of a glare. So you get a point to it. So that spot right there on top. You see that spot right there on my shaky finger? Right there. Above. Is that quite so dark like that? Because you know what happens? Sometimes, like, I put up what do you call those little GIFs? GIF. I don't know. GIF. Anyways, I don't know if you guys are, but I recommend that you go on my channel and hook up with my community page, because I'm starting to put some pictures up there. And I might have put a GIF on there. I was going to. Don't know if I did yet. But in it is a moment, it's just a moment when you get to see a real small something moving in there, amongst with my first face-to-face culprit. And it has to do with that eye shine. And that's part of what you guys would see on my community page is I show 3 different pictures of that being, and I'm talking about the eye shine. One picture is, I might have put up 4 now. So one picture will be before. I have to read the comments with it, but one picture will be before the eye shine. One will be eye shine starting. One will be eye shine finishing. So with in videotaping, I got 2 clips where whatever that shine thing is, because I used to think it was a twig. But and then I have one more video where one more clip where it's out of the eye shine. Yeah, so you see what I'm got. I got the 4 clip pictures, and in the 2 of the eye shine, when you see the eye shine, in those 2, obviously, it's very microscopic, the change, because it's a clip and a clip of that video edit. On the 3rd one, where it's showing the eye shine supposedly went away, or the stick floated down past the eye, if that would, that's the other option, some stick falling down, getting a beam of light into it, and it just kind of stood out, and it happens to do it when it's in front of this thing's eye. Well, down below, it does another shine, so I kind of always thought it's a fail, must be a stick. Decided to break down these pictures like that. You get to see it twice in its eye, clip to clip. On the 3rd clip past, it is down. The next reflection that I thought was it is down, I don't know, let's say a foot or something. So number of inches down. And at that point there, it's actually someone else doing a shine in unison, doing a something in unison. I've explained that before, how they do that in, like, say if it started to become night, they might decide to fake there's cars driving around behind that stuff you see up there. It's really changing there, isn't it? You might be able, or they might give you a light show to give you the impression that cars are driving through there, where their eyes, they can do just like a typical beam. You look for it and, you see 2 beams at me, and then you start to see the beams turning, and you can see rays from the beam, whatever you call that, where it's lighting up certain parts of the ground and stuff, and then turns away, and then you think the car's driven off. And 100% it could be one of these guys. That's the masters. That's the mimicry. So that's part of why I say to you, try not to go into a face of 1,000 faces. Just try to keep it a family or something. Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them. I don't at all go with outer space stuff, you guys. I don't pick. I can explain that why I don't, but I don't get outer space stuff. I've gotten so many kind of little light trickeries where they're doing their little different glowing shows with their eyes. I assume it's only from their eyes. I kind of assume I'm right. It's from their eyes. And the reason is because that's the image I get all the time. That's the closest I get. And the little sparkles I get, and these little indications where I've literally, in the light thing now, have been literally in the hundreds and hundreds, where eventually not far or something, it must be my first 1,000 different things must be happening. And I say it without any kind of a thing of saying that I'm exaggerating or that I'm making it up or anything like that. Encounters, events, interactions. Just when an encounter is kind of when you bump into something. Interaction is when that thing you're bumping into is interacting with you. And on my first face-to-face, that's what you get, is you get interaction. Why do you get interaction? Because they didn't choose to leave. They choose to stay there for close to around 40 seconds of the time. I'm right in the zone of where my main subject is. And they didn't leave. Somebody might say, how were you successful that way? Well, if you get your eyes onto a young one and you don't get your eyes onto an adult, you have more of a chance of it lasting longer. If you get your eyes onto an adult and they are perceiving that you've seen them, it gets shut down quicker if you tried to continue to stare, because continuing to stare means you're trying to bring in information and stuff. So they'll just break silence. That's why, you know, not to insult him or anything, but I just don't remember that other chap. He's also deceased. He was the guy that, oh, there she goes. That guy. And he was just seeing some footprints right down by the little bit of a brook there or something. And then all of a sudden, oh, there she goes. And he sees the big mama, and she was going to save a young one. Or if it was a mama or if it was a cousin or whatever type thing. So that's why that one was willing to do that. On her angle, she's thinking that he's maybe seeing the little one. So she broke camel to go and get him. She didn't disappear and then appear standing beside him to pick him up. She walked in front of this human being, blew her cover, went over there, grabbed the thing, walked a few feet and hid again. And then he actually couldn't see him. But she can't read his mind. So she doesn't know that he can't see them. So she makes the choice to start walking again. See all the ones in front of us? They don't know we can see them. They can't read our minds that we can see them. So they just take their chances. And their chances are becoming more comfortable maybe. Maybe it has to do with such huge numbers and stuff. It's all part of what we're trying to realize. I really think they're out there. Do they have some kind of moving, getting around, super abilities? No idea. Really, no idea how they do it. In my first face-to-face, once again, you get to see what I call a pile of Bigfoot. You're not seeing a totem pole of Bigfoot. That makes sense to you? A totem pole of Bigfoot? Our natives in this country make totem poles of other beings. The natives did one time know of these beings, but they haven't for a long time. All they know is sort of stories, and they know the stuff that we know. That's what they know. Have they had some visuals? Yeah, some of us have had visuals too. There's lots of people get certain kinds of visuals. Some of us get lots of mimicked visuals, so there's confusion in visuals. And then also the speculation of probably a lot of different looks, just like us people. And well, with the natives, you get that understanding. They know what a totem pole is, and you wonder where they came up with that art. And you just think, oh yeah, hundreds and hundreds of years ago they came up with this really cool totem pole thing because they like animals. They think they're spiritual and they're related to them and all that kind of stuff. I'm not, making fun, not at all. I'd be describing it the same way to myself. If I was believing it that way, then I'd be just kind of describing, yeah, we think the spirits in the animal, and we are, whatever, our cousins and all that kind of stuff. Well, that shape of the totem pole that they make became reality to me and realizing that they were influenced by it way back in the day from these beings, and probably on a level that they got to know them way back on the day. And that's the same thing we get to see now. We do get to see totem poles. If you guys really pay attention, sometimes you'll start noticing them on my channel, but I know I've filmed a number of them, and there could be a couple going on in here too, and they could be growing right now because more start to come around a little bit and stuff. And then they need a place to hide, so I guess they go and climb so and so's back, and then climb up a little bit higher, and then, but they just don't do it exactly like a totem pole. Like if the natives knew how to do a totem pole of the Bigfoot or these beings or whatever, they'd be, there would be 50 heads on the thing because they'd be popping out from all kinds of angles and spots, one popping out between Dad's legs, one popping out beside his hip, another one on the other hip, another one above that one, above that one, above that one, a bigger head sticking above his shoulder, all kinds of stuff going on. And at nighttime, as you start to grow in this information, and then it becomes nighttime, and maybe there's a light source in that area, or there's certain things going on where they feel they can comfortably turn on their lights without making you think it's them and leaving you to think that maybe there's Christmas lights back there or whatever type thing, then that's when you get that second imaging of, now in my mind I can see that pile better because of what all those lights are doing, those eyes, those little glowing flickerings. And then maybe within that pile, the couple of adult ones are the ones in control, or they let the little one get away with it or whatever. Somebody starts just breaking the pattern a little bit and doing a bigger glow. And then that pattern can change up. Like, it's mind-blowing, guys. It really isn't just, they flicker a glow light. Yeah, they shape, they make these branches on this tree into some monkey branches. Yeah, they've maybe come through human areas. Yeah, they live at the tallest mountains in the world. Yeah, it's everywhere. They will live in the deserts, but it'll be different tribes, I would imagine. And where you would be able to find them, and it's the deserts, which I see a lot on different shows and stuff, is a lot of greenery happening in different places where I always thought, man, I thought those places were always full of death. They always talk like nothing can survive there because there's no water and stuff. But then you get to see these beautiful forest places. Well, guess what? Go there however you want, through Google Earth, through, watching a couple of shows, somebody who visited this place in Africa, whatever, and go do your own research, and you'll start to see how those trees start to give you certain information that these trees give you. And I tell you 100%, probably all of our bark on all of our trees gets a design that has nothing to do with the real existence of what that tree's DNA would have said. Along with cord branches that are supposed to be coming from the DNA of a tree. No, there's these confusion branches that we call sucker branches. And they kind of, when we were, 20 years and beyond, we used to always call them sucker branches. They're just hurting the tree, get rid of them. Now pruners, coming out of school, they might not even get taught much about them. Maybe they just get taught about real bad sucker branches. Maybe, because to some extent, what happens when you look at a sucker branch, back in the day, it used to signify this real smooth, it used to have real smooth skin on it and stuff. And it might have been the thing that they used for throwing us off back in the day. Oh, there's another sucker branch, just the odd one, and they wouldn't sculpt them in any way. But now what happens is the sucker system is part of what we mostly see. We mostly see, once a tree starts getting so big, it's probably lost all those original cord branches, and any cord branches that come out of it, it'll probably lose, and they like the sucker system of branches. And if you really go up and knock off one of these branches that I talk about that are the sucker, you'll see what the understanding is. You'll see how they grow from the outer elements of the tree, not from the cord coming out of the tree. So it's kind of like if you just had a birth defect and an arm just started growing off of your side of your elbow, and we can cut it off without wrecking any nerves or anything. So obviously it wasn't growing from deep within you, it's just growing off the outside of your body, but somehow it's able to be there. It's the same idea as kind of that weird thing. I really wish I could zoom better with this cat. Yeah. No, that's the right now. So interesting. Temporary relief. Oh yeah, you're talking about some pain relief? No, I wish I could. But you know what you do later is with you, even with your cell phone, whatever. Just get one of these puppies, because then you can put it right on it. There's the what am I here? Yeah, I'm just trying to have some fun. But anyways, yeah, you can put this right on it. This is a times 7. Put that right on your camera like that, and then look at it. I tell you, it's I like it. Better than maybe wearing glasses, you know, those magnifying glass ones. Your eyes are totally buggered up wearing them. Do some screen. I don't know if you do. Yeah, I think you don't have any. You just go off your phone, don't you? I think you just go off your phone, if I'm remembering right. We might have somebody who's going to be blocking us out here. I think he will block us out. Hey Mark, how's it going, brother? Just showing this new Kenworth I'm getting. I'm going to put a sleeper in it. Kidding. I did a pretty... I can keep this angle for a while, you guys, because I'll point out a couple of things that I like here. Because this... Mark, I kept this whole shot the whole time, so screenshots or whatever if you like, and then just follow what I talked about earlier or whatever. But anyways, I kind of like this spot right here. See that black hole right there? Lots of darkness I like different spots around, but my second choice is this spot right here. That line of tree right there. I might just turn this a little bit more like that. And I was talking about shadow watching. I was teaching about, really to get your mind wrapped around it, because if you get your mind wrapped around that a shadow isn't just a shadow. It's got a story in it. What's in that shadow? I don't know, maybe it's just a tree in behind there. But maybe it's something else. I screenshot. Yeah, so if you go back through this video, Mark, and you screenshot a few of the areas, you'll see some good changes. And then it's a matter of that, I hear you, brother. And then it's a matter of one of those things, if you feel like getting that much into it, of doing magnifying glass looking and blah, blah, But like I said to everybody, if I sat here for a real long time, through the whole evening here, and we've come from sunlight. There was sunlight in that tree that's on our left there, the long one, that I kind of pointed out there. It had some really awesome, true value of shadow on it from the sun and from part of its own tree being in the way and stuff. So it really gives you the three-dimensional look of what you're looking at, instead of just seeing it as sort of on a one-dimensional. Because that's another thing that's helpful, if you can kind of try to read the depths of things, see ways of how they're maybe not flat and stuff. I can actually come back here. See our stuff back there, I guess, a bit, right? So you like check out the shadow on the left there, Mark, and it has been growing up above and stuff. See how along the building on that top part of the shadow, right on the edge like that, it's like how we hide with hide and seek. We try to just get our eye coming around the corner and not too much of anything else. It's the same way as that we would do it. They do it. Whoops. What the? I'm trying to see the focus is good. Time for me to have a coffee break. Do you mind that angle? Is that a good angle, or would you rather me turn to the right one? No, you didn't run everyone off. There's just not been, it's been kind of a couple of sticker-arounder girls that know good information, and then I think other people are just popping in and leaving. You get it, Mark. People don't like to listen to our words. They just want to see a picture. You're one of these guys that doesn't get... you don't go too much into, like, from what the bit I've watched of you and stuff. We only got so much time, right? But you're not too much into the hocus pocus of it or something like that. You want to see this as a real human. As a human understands it, I should say. Once a piece of understanding comes that might give you an understanding that that's beyond how people are seeing it, then that's your difficult steps. Like the difficult step of trying to shake people to know there's a Bigfoot out there or something like that. There's no sense shaking a person with that. And the reason is because there's tons of us smart people out here now that knows there's stuff going on. So we might as well just hang in that group. It's like an alcoholic has to hang out with an alcoholic. Or a dry alcoholic is supposed to hang out with a dry alcoholic in some respects to stay in that club of no alcohol. We're building a club, like you said the other day, Mark. We got to get more people onto this. There's something going on that we got to get more people onto it. That's what I felt you were saying. And that's our club. Like Buddy over there, no bad mouthing him or anything, but he's kind of the biggest YouTuber of the Bigfoot stuff, because I know there's big boys out there who get a lot of views. But there's that Colorado Bigfoot or whatever, Mark Bigfoot Colorado, one or the other. He's got style. He's living out there. He's got lots of footage. He's got all kinds of his understanding and stuff. But his understanding doesn't, I'm going to guess that it doesn't connect with yours too much either, the stuff thing, where he gets. I don't know if you choose to carry a gun or not, Mark. Don't badmouth people who do carry guns, but I tell you, you won't get the same amount of information if you carry a gun. And that guy carries a gun. And Mark, I think you're also in the field where you understand that if you're out there a little bit one night and all of a sudden you hear this whack of coyotes going on, this crazy coyote sound, I think you're already aware to start going, I think that could be something else. Mark can't do that. Another thing that you might be able to do is, I'm going to test them out a little bit and try a couple of tests. Because one thing you're going to know, you start intermixing with a coyote, he's like, fuck you, I'm out of here. I don't like you humans. Coyotes do not want to play games with us. Coyotes don't want to come around to our farm when we're awake. They want to do it when they know they can get away with shit. Are they getting braver? Do they have brave times? Just so on and so forth. Are they alive during the day? Yeah, this is a reality too. They will have personalities to some extent. So, in a second here, I'm going to read some. I don't have to have this plugged in anymore. So I'm just going to show you my view here, guys. A little bit. So you get an understanding of what we're up to here. So right in behind there, see those trees right here? For an example, I'll stick with the subject. That's Baker in behind there. Baker has snow on this north face, like that's the north facing face, year round. Mount Baker has had the best snow year here in a couple of years, and it's not like ridiculously best, but it is the best snow year it's had this year throughout the summer and stuff. There's no ecosystem issue here, guys. See how we don't have snow here? That's normal. Is it completely normal? Is it every year like this? No. But if you went through all our history, you will see that this can be considered as normal, that we don't have any snow. You see our mountains in the background there? Those are some of our mountains. That's going to be, if you want to bring up those mountains back there, which I recommend you do. Let me try to make this steady. Hopefully the view, the focus as well. Anyways, that's the Cascade Mountains. So if you punch Cascade? No, just a second here. Yeah, Cascade. There's a bowl, Cascade Bowl. I might be getting that Cascade wrong for some reason, I'm thinking, but it's Cascade. That is the mountain range that I just recently told the story, that I was hanging out with a young boy that is a cousin to my children. So my kid's cousin, relative more or less then. Family was up there last year hiking it. Anyways, I was telling this cousin boy how these guys do their trickery and how get us confused and lost. I tell the kid the confusion about it. Next thing you know, I'm talking about then the guy's right here and he falls off of a cliff. And, you know, he's kind of terrorized to death, and, you know, they didn't even have to touch him. They just scared him, and next thing you know, he's dead, and blah, blah, blah. And then the kid goes on, yeah, they even go in there. Lots of times they do dog calling from just right there, guys, at this that's a little slab of property that goes through. And they tease me with dog sounds in there all the time. Because there's right in behind there's a couple of big dogs that live in the house there. So it's covered. You see what I'm saying? There's lots of background cover they do. They have stuff that helps them with their mimicry. If they're going to do light stuff, glowing stuff, then there should be some lights in the background of their area or something generally, or cars that go back in that backness or something like that. Yeah, I got oh, fuck. You guys, there's a little poison right here. Don't worry, I won't put them on YouTube. I'm live right now. Yeah. I don't have you on there. Do you want to be on? Look at that bald guy, eh? He's turning into a Bigfoot. Run! Okay, guys. Well, I think that's my cue to. This is what's it been, almost 2 hour live, sitting here And I have real people who come on here and watch and accept what I talk about there, mister. Anyway, see you guys. Thanks for joining in. Sorry I'm not necessarily reading all your comments, but it's that time for me. Peace out. Don't forget to watch the whole video. You know, I in the beginning I did say some pretty good sense, so peace out.